Hi there. In this video you can watch me attempt and succeed to modify and upgrade my Linn Sondek LP12. I hope that you enjoy watching DIY how-to type episodes. I certainly enjoy making them. I did my best to make this one snappy and efficient without overlong shots and tedious explanations. There is a part 1 video where I give some background information and history of the LP12 and a general overview and my impressions of how the Valhalla Electronics Zeus speed controller operates and performs. If you missed it, you can easily find it by going to the My Own Devices Audio Channel YouTube homepage. So this is part 2, and these are actually the very first videos about the Zeus on YouTube. But before I start showing you the footage, I must state a couple of things. Firstly, my camera work was not great. And it's happened before as well. I keep shooting from angles where my hands, wrists, and elbows are often blocking the view. Secondly, and most importantly, I made a couple of bonehead mistakes during the process. I was like most guys. I don't want to read every word of the instructions. I'll just quickly skim it and get the basic gist. However, I'll tell you this up front. I just had a few challenges along the way. So if you buy one, you could use this video to assist in avoiding some of the stumbles that I experienced. Enjoy! The small box arrived a week after shipping from Liverpool, United Kingdom, and inside were the various parts that made up the Zeus. Also inside was a sheet of paper with a web address to download the instructions/manual. And I thought I was going to have to type in a long URL into my browser, but then I realized that a link had already been emailed to me a few days earlier, and that was a relief. I then downloaded it to my iPad for easier access. I made sure it was not plugged in beforehand, and make sure that you do that as well. The bottom cover was removed in order to get to the electronics inside. Now the instructions say to make sure that the voltage jumper is set correctly on the Zeus board. I compared the photo to the actual device and noticed there's a bit of a difference in their appearance. However, the unit arrived with the jumper set for North American voltage. The original 1988 Valhalla circuit board is mounted to the cross brace, which will be removed and replaced with the new Zeus. First, I had to detach the wires to the motor, the mains power, and unplug the ribbon cable to the power switch. The orange ribbon cable to the power button simply pulls out of a slot. This was very easy and uneventful, no problems there. The Valhalla speed controller attaches to the cross brace with 6 plastic standoffs that pop through the 6 holes in the circuit board. I removed them by pinching the tip of each standoff with pliers and pulling up. It was not as easy as it looked. It took a few minutes to get all 6 of them disengaged. Now once the board is off, I removed the old standoffs by yanking them off with cutting pliers. And then I inserted the 4 new standoffs that came with the Zeus. The board is smaller, so it only needs 4. And the holes in the Zeus lined up perfectly with the standoff, so they just popped on. Easy peasy. And after that, the old power switch needs to be removed. And that's not difficult either, but it's awkwardly located under the corner brace, which made changing the switch a bit challenging for me later. You must reach under and compress 2 plastic wings that are holding in the switch. And once you do that, it just slides out of the hole in the top plate. Now this is where I got a little confused. The instructions say that screwing in the new machined aluminum power switch is pretty much impossible without totally disassembling the inside of the LP12 to remove the top plate. So the solution is the use of double-sided adhesive pads to stick it on. I looked in the bags of parts and found a small strip of black tape, and I mistakenly thought it was a double-sided adhesive pad. So with a pair of scissors, I cut 2 small sections from it and stuck them to the underside of the switch, and peeled off a layer of something from the tape, but it wasn't sticky underneath. WTF. So I'm scratching my head wondering what to do. I found a small roll of 3M double-sided tape of my own, so I cut 2 small pieces of it and stuck them to the switch. Problem solved, but later I learned that adhesive pads had already been affixed to the bottom of the switch during manufacture, but I didn't notice them. So make a note of that when you get to that part. I ran the ribbon cable up through the hole and pushed the switch into position. Now on the old Valhalla board, the location where the ribbon cable goes in is in close proximity to the power switch. But on the Zeus, it's on the other side of the board. So I needed to route the longer cable under the cross brace and insert it into the narrow slot that has a plastic locking clip that must be pulled out and then pushed back in. And you also have to make sure the silver traces on the ribbon are facing the circuit board. And I put it in upside down the first time. Following that, I reattach the 6 wires to their correct locations. And make sure you have a small Phillips and flathead screwdriver. So with all that done, the turntable will function properly and you could call it a day. But the Zeus has a special feature that distinguishes itself from other LP12 speed controllers. It has a speed sensor that will monitor the RPMs of the platter using feedback with adaptive speed control called PID that will compensate and adjust the speed so that it rotates at precisely 33 1/3 and 45 revolutions per minute. Pretty cool. So I needed to flip it over and install the Zeus sensor unit. It sticks to the top plate and detects how quickly a piece of black tape stuck to the underside of the outer platter passes by. Oh, so that's what the black tape was for. So I took what was remaining of the black tape and the pieces I cut off and carefully stuck them under the platter rim. The long ribbon cable must be guided down through the bearing hole in the top plate and then through the narrow gap between the top plate and the subchassis. I held the sensor in place with some blue painter's tape and flipped the plinth over again. The cable came out in a less than ideal location, and then I soon realized that it was twisted up on the top side. The only solution was to pull it out and do it again. Well, this is what I ended up doing. The cable came out here. I can't seem to control where the cable is coming out. When I push it in, I pushed it in so it would go kind of that way. So it came out here, and then I had to run it across the circuit board, plugged it in right here. I think it'll be all right. May dangle a little bit, but it's very light, very thin, so I don't think it'll interfere with anything. All right, according to this diagram, it says I should put the sensor kind of like here between those 2 bolts. The sensor attaches securely to the top plate with double-sided tape that's already installed on its underside. And the instructions say to tape the ribbon cable flat so it doesn't interfere with the platter. It does look a bit DIY, but it's all hidden away. I added a few drops of oil to the bearing and put the belt and platter back on. As soon as I plugged in the LP12, the small OLED display on the switch turned on and I was greeted by Zeus and the initial setup procedure. Now this is where reading the manual would have been helpful. I was so excited that it was working that I just started pressing the button willy-nilly. I highly recommend that you don't press it at all, which will keep the default set as is to start, which is fine. I discovered a few minutes later that by pressing the button, I disabled the PID RPM monitoring. And that's the main feature of the unit. I eventually figured out that if I unplugged it and then plugged it back in and quickly pressed the button, it went through the initial setup sequence again, and I resisted pressing that thing. So what did I think of the installation process? It was a little more challenging than I expected, but primarily because I'm a little dim and I didn't read the instructions as thoroughly as I should have. But from my perspective, the instructions could probably use some updating, with a concise step-by-step section to start it off. The way it's written, it jumps around a bit, and my simple brain prefers simple stuff that goes, first you do this, and then you do that, and followed by the next step, etc. So after I successfully installed the Zeus, I spent the next few weeks evaluating its performance and operation. Do I believe it's something you should get for your LP12? If you enjoy what I do and are wondering, how can I support Dave and his channel? Well, that's super easy. First go and hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I also have an Instagram at myown.devices. But if you're thinking, how can I support My Own Devices audio channel in a more meaningful and generous manner? Well, how about joining my Patreon for a mere $3 a month? And with that, you get early, ad-free new videos and other stuff. The link is below.